Okay, not really a news topic as such, but Mike Chi, creator of the RetroTink series of scalers, has started to seed prototype devices with key influencers, one of which is our very own John Lineman. I guess you should
Mm.
take it away, but John, you've been bombarding me with various anecdotes
Yes.
about how fantastic this device is looking and screenshots, which I have to admit, even though I don't have a huge amount of interest in retro gaming, I kind of still want one. Take it away.
Yeah, so just brief first impressions, but he did send out prototype units to specific folks for further testing because the idea here is that he's really trying to tackle all the potential use cases for this in scenarios. And I've already found a bunch of areas where it breaks, where he did not, so I'm feeding that back to him. Like, for instance, one of the big features for me is VGA capture, which is phenomenal for retro PC stuff.
Yep.
Because as Alex has said, we've discussed this before, there aren't really any good modern VGA capture solutions. Everything that we own to capture VGA is sort of like old, like
Yep.
discontinued products that are hard to get and have their own drawbacks. So
Yep.
the Tink 4K basically is like a brand new VGA capture device. And oh boy, it does it well. So it has auto phase. Like, if you plug VGA into an LCD monitor, it would actually go through like the auto phase kind of process to get like a
Hmm.
pixel perfect image. That is in here now. So no more dialing in the phase and all the height and width. And Alex knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, stuff that's
It's a
annoying.
gigantic pain in the butt to get crystal clear capture on your PC. So that's here. But what's really cool is that this thing supports all kinds of weird resolutions from PC. So you get like 70 hertz input. You can feed in like 85 hertz. You can feed in whatever you want. And then you can output in a 120 hertz container with VRR enabled, and you get smooth frame time delivery, which is phenomenal. Not useful for capture, but it's cool for delivering a good image. But what just seeing like a 640 by 480, 800 by 600, whatever game, you pipe it in, you're getting this perfect nearest neighbor scale to 4K, and the pixels are just razor sharp. It almost looks like a digital input from your computer. And it's the best quality PC capture I've ever seen from my retro system. And in fact, I will be using some of that footage in the Quake 2 video. So all
Oh,
the
wow.
Voodoo and Power VR and software stuff that is captured on the RetroTink 4K, which is great.
So sick.
There's also the other big feature is that it now accepts HDMI input and it can scale that. So the use case for this is consoles like Xbox 360, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 3, HDMI consoles that don't output up to 4K, especially if they're limited to like 720p. Because now you can take that resolution and do a perfect nearest neighbor scale to 4K and get absolute pristine image quality. Like the difference it makes, like 1080p TVs these days handle it pretty well. Like there is a little bit of softening, but it's pretty good. But 720p, like even on all these old LG OLEDs, but all the brands I've tested, 720p, they blur the heck out of it, right? It's clearly designed for film content. It looks bad. It's very blurry. Not so with this. You get razor sharp pixels and it's just superb. That's a big feature for me as well. And that would help if, like, say I'm doing a video and Switch is involved in the video. Like, I don't think I'm doing the Red Dead video, but in that case, if we're doing a 4K video, right, and you want to put the Switch version in there, you could capture on the RetroTink 4K. You get this perfect nearest neighbor scaled 1080p image up to 4K, and now it slots in with the rest of the video, and you get the raw pixels from the Switch scaled up perfectly.
That's the thing with capturing this content and not having to post process it to be nearest neighbor
Yes.
it's a time sink for our work. Rich has done it before. John has done it before. I do it for every single video that I cover retro anything on. It's always nearest neighbor, usually in post to a degree.
Exactly.
So
It's time
this is a
consuming.
big deal. Yeah.
There's also all the filters that you can do. Like it has a really robust mask creation system and scanline system. You can even make your own, of course. And because it's 4K worth of pixels now, that allows for a much more impressive and accurate sort of phosphor simulation or even LCD pixel simulation. You can like this was funny with PS3. I simulated a 1080p flat panel in terms of pixels on my 4K display. So it actually
That's
divides
awesome.
up the pixels on your 4K screen into what looks like actual 1080p
RGBs.
pixels. It's nuts. But for CRT stuff, yeah, you get those little RGB and different sub-pixel structures and the little phosphor configurations, and like can just deliver impressive results on that front. But then it's like, oh yeah, but if you use the masks, it makes the thing darker, right? Well, the Tink 4K allows you to inject HDR, and it's actually like gamma correct HDR support in 10-bit. You can send that to your system or to your TV, and you have full control over the light output. So you crank up the nits, you're like pushing this insanely bright image, but then you turn on black frame insertion, you turn on the different masks and the scan lines, and now you're just at normal brightness while using those. And it's just like, wow, it overcomes the brightness loss in using those other technologies. But let's say you don't have a TV with black frame insertion, you want to use it. The Tink 4K has that as well. You can enable 120 hertz output, up to 1440p, not necessarily 4K 120. It's not HDMI 2.1, but it has its own built-in BFI system, and that was implemented with help by Mark from Blurbusters, who is like the foremost expert in all things motion blur.
BFI. Yeah.
So he worked directly with Mike to ensure that this BFI solution is robust, and it is. It's very good. And Mark was even telling me that this thing can support, I think, up to 240 hertz output for like almost like perfect motion clarity. If you have a monitor
1080p?
capable of support, I think so.
Probably,
so
yeah.
he asked me to test this, but I don't have a 240 hertz screen, so I couldn't even try it. And that's what's interesting, is that this thing is so customizable that you can actually put in all kinds of like custom display modes that you shouldn't normally be able to do. It allows you to push HDMI to its limits, to the point where you actually break things. And I think that's awesome, because you can really like mess with the standard and really tweak it and like try to achieve things that most consumer devices would just say, no, you can't do that. It's on here. And they even have finally a really good quality remote that has all very custom buttons. So like, let's say you want 4K, you want 1080p, you get direct buttons for it. You have direct buttons for all your different presets, all the different modes, auto phase. It's got the different input buttons. Like everything is direct from here. But even then, it has an amazing UI system that's like really robust, fast, responsive, super crisp, and just inputs all over the place. So, I should probably stop for now, but I can't help but gush, because this thing is nuts. It's a type of device that has not existed until now. Not a single company has ever made something like this before. And trust me, I've looked, not even super high-end video processors from companies, like they don't do the things that he's trying to do here with the Tink 4K. And for that reason, it's going to be expensive, but this is clearly a high-end product designed for special use cases. If you're just doing classic consoles and you have, like, say, a RetroTink 5X Pro, and you're not looking at the VGA, the HDMI input, the 4K masks, and all that kind of stuff, it's not going to be that different for you. But if you're looking at all these advanced features, it's a godsend.
Yeah, I think one thing which is really interesting is the accommodation for creators that you're talking about is really, really important, because there is nobody else doing this. And there's a lot of hardware solutions that I'm looking at behind the scenes to take digital foundry coverage to the next level, when for example, cutting edge display technologies are becoming more the norm, which is why we've got an 8K capture card at the moment that we're testing.
Right.
But the point is that I'm finding that there's a lot of scenarios for features that I want to have in the DF toolset, if you like, where nobody can actually provide a hardware solution, right?
Right.
And the stuff that you're talking about, it's exclusive. It's nobody else is really doing it. The stuff that Mike Chi, the designer of the RetroTink, is doing is almost super niche. But
Yeah,
it's
super
awesome.
niche.
But it's awesome. It's pushing back the boundaries, which is what we're all about, and it's what he's all about, and that's why I'm really excited by this product. So absolutely, when the time is right, I'd love to see a full review of that once all the features are baked in.
Once the final thing's out, because like this, I can't lift it up here, but it's even in like a 3D printed prototype case. Like it is not a finished
Ready.
product yet. And like I mentioned, there's still some things that I'm trying to help him sort out. Like I'm testing all the weird retro PC resolutions. Like we discovered that Jazz Jackrabbit uses some unusual DOS resolution that very few other games actually do. Like it's a very, very obscure resolution. He was actually surprised to see it, but that does not display correctly on this. Like it's all squashed and weird because the Tink is just like, what is this? But he's going to implement support for it now. And there's a ton of like information and tools on here, like diagnostics that reveal exactly what the input, the output, what the FPGA is doing, like all this like data to give you an exact idea of what it sees, what's piping into this thing. And so going through that, hopefully by the time this thing officially launches, you know, all these weird, obscure use cases that were thrown at it will be fully supported.
There's actually a weird, obscure one that I have where for some reason when using, I think what GPU was it? Maybe it was like a 5000 5200 FX from NVIDIA.
Oof.
When it pumps out things through VGA and it's like normal GMT, it actually, my capture card reads it at double the hertz, but with the wrong height or something like that. And that's wrong. That's obviously really wrong. I'm curious what Mike Cheese would do with that.
So yeah, that's basically what we're testing right now is like trying to throw situations like that at this thing and basically reporting back to him. So hopefully we can help influence the end result. It's already amazing, but you know, the idea is to get this thing to just do whatever.